All right, so I'm Amanda from Ragtag Resilience. My family and I have a small urban farm here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and we have not done a garden tour in probably over a year. We've just passed the summer solstice, and we want to show you where our garden is at. And we're gonna start here in the back of Talo House, our Airbnb urban farm. And keep in mind that it is production over perfection is our goal. We're harvesting a lot for farmers market. We spend a lot of time trying to maintain the lines at the Airbnb for, guest purposes. But in reality, you'll see the progression of as we get more into our homestead, it gets a little messier because we're always gonna choose starting seeds, planting more crops for rotation, and bringing in the harvest to share with our community over pulling grass and keeping lines straight and things like that. So come on, let me show you what we got while we still have daylight. We recently added this herb garden that is for guests, so they can harvest sage and basil and rosemary and parsley and thyme and Malabar spinach for their own use. And so there's directions in that. And we just really want our guests to be able to experience and eat from the garden as much as possible. So this is just a really low maintenance way for them to enjoy that. We've got tons of mint. This is a peppermint or spearmint, I mean. We have echinacea going off, which is just beautiful to sit here and enjoy. Lots of comfrey everywhere, lemongrass in the back. These are lots of strawberries as a ground cover, some autumn sedum, dill. We had the best gooseberry harvest this year, which we used for a harvest table dinner, one of our farm to table dinners we do here with Lunette, a local chef that she's just amazing because she uses stuff in season. And we always have like this much of something and she makes something amazing out of it, and it's just the best. So the gooseberries, this was our first like substantial harvest. It felt like a whole gallon. So the sumac those bunches will plump up into bright red berries, and we'll be able to harvest those and make some incredible seasoning for like Middle Eastern dishes, and even sumac lemonade, which will be really cool. We have our quince, which is like an ancient fruit, which I'm really excited to try. I've never had one. There's so much in this berm. So this is like a hugel culture bed, kind of little mini food forest kind of thing that we've stacked up. We've layered lots of logs and debris, and there's actually a huge stump in this area underneath that we had to cover. And so we've just built it up, and then we've wanted to just layer, like within a food forest, lots of different plants to create that just multiple layers. So we have, as these fruit trees get bigger, that's going to be the upper story, the canopy layer of our food forest. And then we have the berries like the gooseberries, and even herbs like rue and different stuff that are taking that shrub layer, also filled in with pollinators like the echinacea and different stuff. And then on the ground level, we have the ground cover of strawberries and oregano, and we're just continually stacking those functions, as well as layering the plants so that we get the most growing space possible, because we're using both the height and the width of the ground. And so also it creates a lovely backdrop, so kind of like you feel all isolated back here. And so these fruit trees will grow up and continue to provide a wall of green. In the back are Jerusalem artichokes, which are perennial. They look like a sunflower later in this season, but then we can harvest those tubers in the fall and winter, and they're just amazing. Also, they store in the ground, so nothing's better than being able to use your garden as a larder. We have sour pie cherries, which we just used again for a harvest table dinner. Hillary did. I believe that's Liberty apple. And then we have Arkansas black apple. So like I said, we have production over perfection. So we know we need to pull grass, we know we need to do maintenance, but this is where we're at. We have lots of fig trees scattered in here with Viking berries, currants, different kinds of currants, and stuff like that. We have lots of milkweed for our pollinator pals, as we get lots of monarchs migrating through Oklahoma, and we're really happy to be a way station on that. We have sage, yarrow, let's see, oh, pomegranate. I think this is like a Russian pomegranate. White currants, rhubarb, which is like kind of amazing to grow here. We have grapes coming over our old fence, Chickasaw plums, which these will get bushier. We'll prune them so that they stay a bit lower and are more like a hedge around this gum tree. So on that side is our house, which we'll hit up later. Oops. So one of the things we really wanted to work on here for Talo was to be able to, we can't make it bigger, so we just want to keep making it better. And we added a sauna. So we have a 6-person sauna, which is really enjoyable, especially in the winter, which I know that's not part of the garden, but we're just really proud of it because my husband's Finnish family traditions. And we have bananas, a little fountain here. These are cannas, I believe, and there's a few elephant ears that are kind of struggling to come back, but we really like being able to use these like to wrap tamales and to use as plates, and just kind of awesome. We were out here cleaning. This is, remember, just doing the things. So we have succulents around the bathtub, being able to have an outdoor tub that's just really enjoyable. So this living wall here is Malabar spinach, and it will probably end up going all the way up to the roof, if not climbing through the lights and everything, but completely edible raw as well as cooked. And it just has, it kind of has a little gelatinous flavor to it like okra, but it's like so good for your gut. It just coats it. And then we have, this is chocolate mint that we're using as a ground cover here. And this turmeric is awesome. We got this from Harvest Land, which the Osage Nation has their food sovereignty project in Pawhuska. Amazing. Donna is like the head horticulturist person that runs that program, and she's just super cool. And she hooked us up with these turmeric plants. I believe it's the blue, so it's like this crazy blue turmeric. So we're growing that, and will be exciting to make something out of it later. All right. Found the cat. This is Louie. All right. So, since we are past summer solstice, we've actually already done a full harvest out of our market garden. We consider the front of Talo house our market garden because this is where we're growing most of our annuals that we are utilizing for farmers market. So with that being said, we already had this at least 6 rows full of garlic, soft neck garlic. And yeah, we've already harvested that, dried it. I'm braiding it with lavender and selling it at farmers market. So it's pretty cool. But with that, we've also already planted the next crops. Oh, but I should point out that our edible landscaping is going strong. Here we have pink lemonade blueberries, which are awesome. I've already gotten to eat a little bit. I know we're gonna run out of daylight, so yeah. Ooh, they're these little pink ones like that. They're so good. They're so sweet. They got like a little sour to them, but they're good. Peaches, we've already harvested. This is the earliest one, and we've already harvested these and used them, which is just crazy to me how quickly they rotate, you know? So we're gonna definitely get some more early harvest peaches, but they're doing good. So we've had lots of teddy bear sunflowers we've just planted. This is straw flower, bachelor buttons, lots of purple Okinawa Japanese sweet potatoes, which are awesome. They grow really well here, like far more productive than any of the orange varieties that we've tried. So we want to be able to actually do next year try and plan in more rest for us as a family, as gardeners, and do a straight rotation of garlic and sweet potatoes because they stack really well. Sorry. Never mind. I thought I saw a snake. I'm fine. Okay, so we've already had tons of lettuce through here that we've harvested. We're letting some of these go to seed and then just kind of slowly grabbing them and throwing them to our chickens. Basil, more sweet potatoes, lots of carrots. We've pretty much done the orange ones. We use a lot of the organic Johnny seeds because they are reliable and really easy to use in our Jang cedar and so on. And then we also have these like cosmic looking ones that are deeper orangey red. It's very important. How do you pull the carrot? Oh my gosh, this one's gnarly. Great. They're kind of tangled. All right. This is the purple kind that we grow. This is pretty gnarly. This is not usually what we bring to farmers market. If anybody knows this from farmers market, we bring our best stuff and then we eat and can this stuff. But it still tastes really good. So this was all carrots, and then we harvested through the middle and planted our big old slicer tomatoes. We really wanted to, so we will hopefully get a good ongoing amount of some pretty beautiful tomatoes. We've already harvested a bunch of these like fat yellow ones. They're doing really good. We do a lot of our harvesting on Fridays so that it's fresh and ready for farmers market on Saturday. So we had tons of violas planted here through the winter, and we use those for both the flowers in our Flora lemonade at farmers market, but I also use it as the pepper component, like the spicy component in my Taste of Spring seasoning. So we've harvested tons of violas, but they're out now, but they self-seeded, and where they kind of self-seeded, we just left them because they're so cute and little. But we've planted our okra, we've got green onions, and then this here, which is a first for us, first year of growing ginger. And you can see in some of my shorts how we started ginger and turmeric, but just really excited. So we're hoping, believe it or not, both turmeric and ginger do not like full sun. Even though they are a heat-loving kind of tropical plant, they don't like being blasted. They're like an understory plant. And so as the okra gets bigger, the hope is that it will kind of cast a little shadow for the ginger to fare well. Anyways, lots more big old slicer tomatoes, different varieties, and carrots. Because carrots love tomatoes. There's a whole book about it, about companion planting, and they really do. I mean, I don't know, but I like the idea of them being friends. Those are shallots. How cool is that? Also, we have lots of melons. There's 3 different kinds. I think we've got the Kajari. The Kajari one. Those are like those small, very musk-melony ones. And then the baby watermelon, seedless, and I think another one that's kind of like that sugar baby or something. So for peppers this year, we have switched it up and we're doing hot. They're like a red Brazilian habanero, and that's what these are. And then we have these Brazilian finger peppers. They're literally called lady fingers or small finger. And those we're growing for Dr. Custom in Tulsa, who is an amazing Brazilian chef. So he gets priority on those. Good friend Alex. We're just happy to be able to grow them for him. And then, so there's the Brazilian peppers. So shishitos are there. Poblano peppers are here. And these are Italian roasters, which we have not grown before, but are really excited to try. So hoping to get a bunch of those, be able to roast them and can them in some olive oil. And then eggplant, we have stuck with our absolute favorite. This is the Antigua. So good. So I don't feel like the skin is very bitter at all, and it's just really great, diverse eggplant, especially for doing baba ganache, different stuff like that. And then we have some more turmeric. So this is the turmeric that I started, not the one in the back that's the blue turmeric. That's the one that we got from the Osage Nation Harvest Land. This is the turmeric that I started from, rhizomes in some shorts that I shared on YouTube. And it took a while, but I'm amazed by how much it's grown and how healthy it is. So, and then this is also really exciting. So where we're at is, we were zone 6B. So now we're zone 7. And there's not a lot of globe artichokes here, but we are growing them. And we started these from seed. These artichokes came from seed, and we started them, and they're growing, and we're hoping to have a permanent perennial artichoke plot, which would be awesome, because honestly, a lot of people haven't eaten artichokes here, and we're very excited to introduce them to one of our favorite foods. Because you gotta love an artichoke heart, like steamed and dipped in butter and lemon juice or mayo. It's the best. Anyways, we just have it dotted with, we had arugula in here before that's all been bolted and pulled, and now there's just a spring mix of stuff we're still eating. Again, we always want to keep as much biodiversity as possible, confuse the pests and me, and just keep things so that it brings in pollinators. And because since we're a warmer climate, especially in the summer, and artichokes are they're Italian, temperate climate, they don't like harsh winters, they don't like intense summers. They're like more on that Mediterranean kind of edge, right? And here we are in the butt crack of America, Oklahoma, trying to grow them. So my very smart husband looked up how to give them the best start, and that includes, especially the first year, to adapt to the hot weather, and that is cold stratification. And what we did is after we started them from seed and had the little plants, they had their little 2 true leaves and stuff, we popped them in the refrigerator for 2 weeks. And we were so worried that they weren't getting any sunlight and that it was just going to kill them, but we were following directions from much more seasoned gardeners than ourselves. And they lived. They lived in the fridge for 2 weeks to get cold, and that basically shocks them and prepares them for an advanced growing season. So even though these were started this winter, February or something, started in February from seed, the goal is to help them acclimate to the hot weather where we live better, but also, more importantly, get a jump start on growing big and vigorous and forming heads, because that's what we want to eat. We want to eat the flowers, which are the globe artichoke heads. So we'll see if that works, but so far so good. I haven't seen any other artichokes here. And the reason we started doing this was because I know this scraggly weird thing, it looks weird, but this is a cardoon, and this is in the family of artichokes. And we wouldn't actually have it here except for the fact that it has volunteered 2 years in a row. And we're like, well, if we got a cardoon, which I never wanted to go through the effort of harvesting to utilize, there were some free plants I got, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty, I'll stick it in the ground. And it did really well. And it died, in the winter, even as a perennial in this place, but it came back in the spring. And so we're like, well, if a cardoon can make it, so can a globe artichoke. And so this non-going away cardoon is what inspired our globe artichoke hedge that we are making. Okay, here we have more Malabar spinach, because it is the most beautiful edible wall covering, and we kind of now just let it go everywhere because it's lovely. And our rhubarb. So I'm convinced that this is the most expensive rhubarb in the world. based on what we paid for it. From Gurney's. It is an Australian variety of rhubarb that is conditioned and prepared for hot weather. So it's been bred for that, and being that we have summers over 100 degrees on the regular, we wanted to have the best chance of growing rhubarb here because we love rhubarb. It's very much like a, you know, Pacific Northwest favorite. My mom always had rhubarb. She always had artichokes. Those are two things we want to have. And so to be able to have it here, like we'll have the corner market on these random perennial crops. Anyways, so we love our rhubarb. It's doing really good. We are not harvesting it this year because we want it to really establish and do well. And it's doing great. So we get morning sun here, but then once it's over, like it stays pretty shady. And so it's a good spot for it on this fence. Of course, we have parsley, we have dill interplanted, and then this is mostly like just good old pollinator stuff. So echinacea, hyssop, more autumn sedum, you know, and then more blueberries, because we love using blueberries as an edible landscaping, you know, food hedge. It's a fedge. Gotta love your fedges. This is super cool. Okay. So again, my hubby, Mr. Ragtag, gets total credit for this one. I know it's like crazy wind blown. It looked a lot prettier before. We've had so many storms here. Like the last couple weeks have been good, but I'll show you some more storm damage in a minute. And we started borage from seed, which is like an amazing, that stuff can grow in anything. It has these beautiful little flowers that are edible, and they're very cucumbery. Like, oh my gosh, they're so cute, especially if you take out this little, if you eat just this part. So you take out that little part that's a little prickly and you eat that, and it's so delicate, and it's like kind of got a little cucumber taste. So it's awesome edible plant for all you chefy people out there in fine dining. But the best part is it can grow well and flourish in poor soil. So we're constantly struggling with the horrible grass here in this area. Pulled out as much as we could, dumped a bunch of mulch, and literally planted small plants in here. And at first they were yellow because, you know, like that's what happens in mulch. But the fact that they took off, and we haven't done anything. This isn't irrigated, nothing. And it's just, this is our little borage crop, and we're gonna keep growing it. We've had our lavenders doing amazing. I've been harvesting lavender to braid into the garlic. Also, we used it for like decoration the other night at dinner, hanging it from the ladder that's in the ceiling. Lots of zinnias. We like to grow some, not just flowers for all the pollinators that are amazing that come here, but for cut flowers, so we can always have some fresh flowers in the house for guests. But look at the bees on the lavender. I'm just amazed. I don't think I ever really, I don't know, I just never thought about what an important pollinator attracting plant lavender is. Like, it's all over Oregon where we're from and on the West Coast, and I kind of took it for granted. And now just to have this flourishing row of lavender as this herb, like, or just this wall to welcome everybody to come in and stay into this nice, safe little ecosystem and habitat for our pollinator friends makes me really happy. We are also off of the spray list in terms of the mosquito fogger in our community, and you can call your city if you don't want to be sprayed with those chemicals that also do kill butterflies and bees as well. So there's a friendly tip. Anyways, yeah, you want to see the rest? Okay. So if you've watched any of our garden tours before, or any of my shorts where I'm sharing Egyptian walking onions or anything else, you might remember our beautiful, old, like ancient grandfather pecan tree that was in our front yard. And we had a storm a few weeks ago and it fell down. And it actually fell down like this when the city of Bartlesville very kindly came to clear the road, because it was like this, and it was the top of it was in our neighbor's yard, and it totally cut off the cul-de-sac. It was crazy. Yeah, so the city cleared the road, and then they just pushed it onto our property and the neighbor's property, all the limbs and debris, and it took us a couple weeks to clean up. Very thankful for neighbors that helped with that, and friends, and that just got all the bushy limbs out of here and some of the bigger branches that we did cut into firewood. But so here's the deal. We had to make a choice of whether or not we wanted to spend $1,000 on removing this tree, or yeah, just investing in that, and it would have dug up this entire area. So like, first off, we're so grateful that it missed our house, which would have landed, if it fell the other way, it would have landed on our children's bedrooms. It would have just wiped out our house. If it would have landed this way, it would have hit our cars. If it landed that way, it would have hit our neighbors' cars. The fact that it landed straight across the street and didn't even hit a light pole, like it didn't hit our peach trees, our oldest peach trees that we love to harvest from, like, we are just really grateful. It is by God's grace that we did not really lose anything. But this was a shade garden. So a lot of these plants are kind of in shock, as you can see from our hostas, because they went from shade, like this partial sun shade garden, to full sun, blasted in Oklahoma. But anyways, here's our plan. So this is the ragtag resilience part, because we know resilience is about adapting to change and using what you have to overcome and to grow with it. So rather than paying to remove this beautiful pecan tree, we're gonna let it lie where it went down, and we are gonna plug it full of mushrooms. So we are putting turkey tail in the top, like 3/4 of it, because turkey tail is both medicinal and edible, and it can handle full sun. So we're gonna plug it full of mushrooms, and then the bottom part we'll plug in oyster mushrooms that need more part shade, but that under part. And the turkey tail and the oyster will help it decompose and just break down into more soil and continue to feed this little food forest. We'll also plant some more peach trees around and just kind of continue that circle now that it's full sun. And yeah, just diversify the plants in here. Being that we're from Oregon and we're used to seeing these like crazy things on the coast. If you've ever been on the Oregon coast, it's wild and just this untamed, rocky paradise in a different way. But there's always lots of driftwood, fallen trees that have just been hammered by the ocean for so long, and you get to see gnarly roots like this. And we love driftwood, we love collecting it. So my husband is going to take on the task of turning the root ball into a living, wonderful art piece by taking off all the dirt and kind of cutting it down and filling in the holes so our children don't fall in them or anything, because they like to climb on it too. And make it this beautiful root ball sculpture in the front yard that also grows mushrooms that we can enjoy. So that's our plan with our beloved pecan tree that is now a giant lawn ornament of usefulness. So yes, we are weird. Okay. All right. So we're in the back of our little homestead house. This is all elderberries. So, yep, there's the flowers. The flowers get pollinated and then they become the wonderful little berries. So remember, we said production over perfection. And the reality is we only have so much time. Like, we're running out of daylight right now. Lots of times we're using headlamps at night. But, so it's a mess, but it's a productive mess. And that's just what I want you to keep in mind. This is our loofah wall. And it's so cool because on the other side of this wall is our bedroom, and so we can see all the green on the inside. But not only is it cooling our house right? By covering the wall that gets blasted. It also is producing, it's gonna produce wonderful loofah. So those are the loofah flowers. They're kind of alien looking-ish, and then they'll produce those big gourds, and then they will dry as long as possible on here. And then eventually they will make it into my sponges at Farmer's Market. Sponges and soaps. There's lots of other stuff. Oh, there's some volunteer passion flower, maypop in there. And then there's also some leftover bitter gourd from last year that was in this bed. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. These are wicking beds that we made. So they just collect rainwater and they're self-fed. Anyways, we have our Cherokee beans, the Trail of Tear beans that I got when I was working for the Cherokee Nation. My wonderful boss gave me some beans that were passed on to him by the chief, and we have grown them for 2 years now, and they're amazing. 3 years. We've grown them for 3 years now. Anyways, they're doing good. We have volunteer, what are they called? Husk cherries. Husk cherries, and they're delicious, sweet little balls. So this is like our original, the OG food forest, the first one we ever planted, and it's crazy. So we've got lots of apples, and we have dealt with cedar rust, if that's something you've ever had to deal with, and we've cut off the branches. And
cedar rust, it's the fire blight.
Oh, fire blight? Yep. Fire blight. Okay, so it's just amazing. So that's what these markings are from, is the fire blight. And then it will, like, you'll just see a branch die, just a random branch, you know, and will turn black. And then you'll get these markings. But anyways, my point is, they do recover. And that happens when you get lots of rain and humidity, that downpours, and then really hot days, because it just makes that go crazy. Anyways, so they do recover. We cut off the branches. And I'm just kind of amazed at what plants can pull through and produce. Like, they're still producing, and they've been through so much. We have our asparagus we've already harvested from here that's gone nuts. We have lots of amaranth that's volunteered. Yeah, comfrey. There's so many apples on the ground. Oh my gosh. We have had raccoons. So while we were on vacation in Florida, unfortunately, we had raccoons attack and eat some of our chicken. Like our chickens, like they ate it. But we still have 5 left. And they also like to ransack our apple trees. So we're still trying to figure out how we're gonna solve that problem. But anyways, so we need to obviously pull grass and weed, but we have our tomatoes going up. Yeah, actually we should go this way. Well, we've already harvested lots of potatoes. And then we have we're gonna plant more, you know, as quickly as we can. But this is really cool to see before it gets dark, because, so those are how the flowers start out, and then they get pollinated, and then they become like this. And then when these get super dark purple, and the stems will be too, like as soon as I start seeing the birds eat them, I know they're ready. And then I'll come out and I'll cut the whole head and then pull them off, and that's how, and I'll dry them in the food dehydrator to make elderberry syrup in the future. But I like drying them because then whether I'm making tincture or syrup, I can control the amount of moisture, and they're gonna last for years. Like, they're shelf stable, and I just make it when I need it, you know what I mean? So anyways, but they're so pretty. We've done the Saint Germain syrup before. The elderberry syrup is really nice. Elderflower syrup is really nice, but we're glad to have the berries this year to make lots of medicine. Okay, so that was our crash course post summer solstice garden tour. I'm sorry it's been so long, but the reality is when you're doing it, you don't always have time to share it, but we do want to get better at sharing things, even when they're not perfect, because they're never going to be perfect. But we do want to show people how much you can get out of a small space. We just want to show you guys, not because we're obviously not showing off, but the reality is if we can do this with full-time job and limited availability and even time, and make something beautiful and productive and a community impact, I think that that can show that anybody can do it. Like, so if you look at this and think, oh my gosh, I can do that, good, you get the point, and we hope that you do. So thanks for looking at our messy garden, and we hope that you have a great summer and that you try something new. Take care, bye.